It's been playing at various festivals, it's winning every award going. Gareth Edwards, without doubt, is going to the top. He's a born filmmaker, a born storyteller. It's a road movie, it's a monster movie, it's a love story, it's everything wrapped into one. But more than anything else, it's a new, original, fresh vision from a real talent, and I think you guys are going to be blown away tonight. So I think we've got Gareth with us, if he's finished his business.
And here he is. He's the man of the moment with the film of the year, Gareth Edwards.
I am so relieved they've got bright lights, I can't see anyone. Otherwise I'd be shitting myself right now. I could see you as I walked down, and I swear to God this is... I just went to the loo real quick, that's what I was like. But I was thinking, I still don't know what to say. And the weird thing is I've been dreaming of this moment since about 4, and so I've had 31 years to think of it. And yeah, I'm still stumped for words. I just want to say, real fast, obviously thanks to FrightFest for the support, it's been phenomenal. And thanks to Total Film for letting us be here. And thanks to Vertigo for letting us make the movie. And more importantly, thanks to all you guys for coming. This is the best place to do this, and I just really hope you like it. And we're going to be here afterwards for Q&A.
We are indeed.
So the way we made this film was quite different to normally how you make a movie, and I'd love to answer questions and talk to you about it if you want to stick around. And I mean, I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life. Right now, this is what it's all about. I don't want to think about it too much else, I'll cry or something. Thank you very much.
Sure.
The environment, you know, and we basically drove around in a van. There was me filming, the sound man, line producer, Jim, who's here tonight somewhere, but he's not going to shout because he's shy. But shout, Jim. Hi. Hey. I feel alone up here, you've got to help me, this is really awkward. There's basically a lot of people here tonight, and if I start shouting names it's going to get boring for everyone, but Colin and John Hopkins and Vertigo and everybody involved, thank you. But yeah, so I've forgotten the question, I'm really rubbish.
So I'm going to move on about the actual concept look of the aliens themselves. I mean, why choose that particular octopusy look?
Well, there's a clue in the film if you're ever like bored enough to ever go and buy the Blu-ray or something. There's this little strap line at the bottom of one of the TV news, and it tells you, and essentially, if you ask a scientist where the biggest chance of alien life is in the solar system, they'll say there's a moon outside Jupiter called Europa, and they can tell that there's a liquid ocean in there, which is essentially the same conditions that started life on Earth. We started at the volcanic vents at the bottom of the ocean, and NASA are planning to collect a sample. They don't know it yet, but when they bring that sample back, the probe's going to crash and in the middle of Mexico. But it's all going to be okay because the aliens have sex, and we'll feel good eventually. But basically, so they come from the bottom of the ocean, so it's things like crabs and octopus and bioluminescence.
Who says you don't learn anything at FrightFest, right? I mean, I'm going to open it up in a minute, but I mean, the technical side of it, I mean, how long did it take you to do all that? I mean, it just looks like, why hasn't Hollywood grabbed you to do Avatar 2? Like for 10 quid is what I want to know.
You just ruined my next movie. No, it's, I don't know, I grew up, like, I'm pretty confident most of this room is people like me. And I grew up, I always wanted to do this and wasn't going to get the chance. You know, this idea that Hollywood just comes along, gives you a load of money and you go to make a movie is quite a fantasy. But it was clear to see that computer graphics were going to be an amazing tool for filmmakers, nearly as good as cameras. And so I just started learning it, and basically I thought, this was 1997, I bought my first computer, and I thought in 1998 I would be able to make a movie and my career would be set. And it just took way, way longer because I was a lot shitter than I thought I was. So I went to a lot of job interviews and everyone was very polite, but I look back on the stuff I used to do and I'm embarrassed by it. But eventually you get a little better, and so yeah, I think we're actually going to see a lot more films with this sort of...
Well, you're the future, I think, of this sort of type of film, don't you think? I mean, people cannot keep spending so much money on these movies, I mean, you know?
I'd like to think that, if you look at Avatar, it's like, if you look at one end of the scale, all the big tentpole movies of the summer, they cost a fortune, but they make a fortune, so it feels that business model is kind of safe. And the other end of the scale, which is the low budget independent, is pretty safe because it's us that's taking the risk. if Hollywood likes it, they pick it up and they distribute it. And it's the middle ground that I think's the problem, where it's, I mean, to me it doesn't sound middle ground at all, it sounds stupidly high, but the sort of $30 million sort of area that there's a chance, there's a big risk there, and I think if they could get away without making those movies, they probably would.
A couple of questions before we move on. If there's people out there with the mics, they will come to you, and here is one now.
The film was magnificent, it really was beautiful. And I noticed you thanked Adobe, and I wondered what you actually sort of did it on post-production, because most people shy away from anything Adobe.
That was so I could get a free copy of the software. Where's Adobe tonight? Cheer, Adobe! Silence. Silence. Yeah, I basically did, it was all done on After Effects and Photoshop, and we edited it on Premiere. You're going to hear a cry from Colin now. Cry, Colin? Okay, yeah. and the 3D was in 3ds Max. Anyone who knows that stuff, we're geeking out for a second. So,
Anybody else?
Hi Gareth, right at the back here. I'm very loud, it's a bit freaky. These love stories in which the entire arc of the relationship is condensed into a very short period of time, you have to be pretty careful as you pitch them out. What were you worried about getting right, or what measures did you make to make sure, I mean, you know, besides the casting you talked about, what did you plan for, or what did you avoid in the arc of the relationship to make sure we were going to buy it?
I thought that sounds like God or my conscience talking. I'm like, where is that coming? You heard that right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. Okay.
It wasn't a fantasy. It's happening.
I don't know. I mean, when you watch a film, it feels planned and oh yeah, and that and that and that. And obviously, it all goes together the way it did. But it really isn't that easy a process, and you write it and then you realise you've written it wrong, and then you film it and you realise you filmed it wrong, and then you edit it and you realise, well, you don't realise you edited it wrong because Colin edited it and it was great. But later on, Colin realises he edited it wrong, and then asks if he can redo stuff, and he's like, we're out of time, Colin, that's it. And so, I mean, I don't know, I'm not really sure in terms of how to answer that, in terms of the arc. For me, and I don't believe we did this, but for me, I don't like romantic films, I don't like love stories, I'm not really into that sort of thing. But I like films like Lost in Translation, I like films like Eternal Sunshine, and so I was trying to go for something that felt subtle, and I don't know if we got the balance right, but it was the kind of film that I would sit and watch, as opposed to, you know, what my girlfriend would sit and watch, which is usually utter shit. Guatemala and Mexico wrongly because they're beautiful countries, the people are so friendly. I mean, I hope that comes across a little bit in the film, but so like, yeah, all sorts of weird shit happened, like I mean, basically every single person in the film with a gun, who in the daytime, we arrived, I was like, oh fantastic, there's guys with guns, this is brilliant, this is going to really help the film. And so I'm trying to film them, like get them into shot, and they're moving out of the way a bit because they don't want to be filmed, and I keep moving around and trying to get them back. And then we're at the second location, I looked at the guy's face and was like, hang on, you're at the other location. And like I went up to Jim, the line producer, and was like, this guy is he following us? He was at the other one. And he's like, yeah, the government have given them free so we don't get kidnapped. And so basically everywhere we went, and that's why all those guys are in the movie, because every single environment we're in, somewhere around the corner was people with machine guns trying to protect us. And I was really nervous, but I was never nervous about that. I was nervous about, am I getting the shots right, is it in focus, you know, is the story going to work, and all this sort of thing. And I mean, there was shootings outside the hotel we were in, there was a prison break in the town we're in, and they decapitated some of the prisoners, put them on the fence and stuff, and that was on the front page news. And we were always trying to hide this stuff from the actors, because we'd sort of convinced them they were totally safe the whole time. And there was stuff like, yeah, we went to this one town, and a week before we got there, this guy's machine gunned the entire cafe and killed about 9 people or so. And then we arrived, and it's this tiny little place, and I didn't know it because they didn't tell me either, but then as we're driving out of town, there's these like 9 coffins in the middle of the road, and everyone's like, what's all that about? And Jim, who knew the whole time, I think, started saying, well, yeah, there was a shooting, everyone got killed, and it was bad, and didn't want to worry you. And so there was lots of little things like this, like we slept with tigers, and all kinds of weird shit.
Wow. I mean, does the analogy to District 9 really annoy you? I mean, do you like people when they say that? Because that has been called that.
I mean, I take it as a compliment, because I think Neil Blomkamp's like a genius in a way. So, I mean, if we have a fraction of that success, then we'll be over the moon about it. So,
I'm sure you will. We have to go, but honestly, this is my favourite film. I just love it to death. Gareth, thank you so much. Thank you very much.